So in this tutorial we are gonna use Git and GitHub with Visual Studio Code without making use of command line or Git terminal. So what is Git? Git is a popular version control system. It is used for tracking code changes, tracking who made the changes, and code collaboration. What does Git do? Git basically manages projects with repositories, clone a project to work on a local copy, control and track changes with staging and committing, branch and merge to allow for work on different parts and version of a project, pull the latest version of the project to a local copy, and push local updates to main project. What is GitHub? GitHub is not same as Git. GitHub makes tools that uses Git. GitHub is the largest host of source code in the world and owned by Microsoft since 2018. Some of the commonly used terms with Git and GitHub: the working tree. It's an area where you are currently working. It is where your files live. The area is also known as untracked area of the Git. The staging area. The staging area is when Git start tracking and saving changes that occurs in the file. These saved changes reflect in the .git directory, and the local repository is everything in your .git directory. Mainly what you will see in your local repository are all the checkpoints or commits. How to install Visual Studio Code for Mac operating system. So first of all, visit your favorite browser. I'm going to use Google and type in Visual Studio Code. Visit the first website, code.visualstudio.com, and click on download from the top right corner. And I'll go for Mac operating system. In my case, click on Mac and it will initiate the downloads in few seconds. As you can see on the top right corner. I have Visual Studio Code zip file downloaded to my Mac operating system in downloads folder. I'm going to open it with archive utility. And then move the Visual Studio Code from downloads folder to applications folder so that you can use it next time. Then double click on Visual Studio Code. Click on open. So here's a Visual Studio Code open in your Mac operating system. So throughout this course we are going to extensively use the source control, which is basically provide us various options to integrate Git and GitHub to your Visual Studio Code. So this is one of the way to open the Visual Studio Code in Mac operating system. The other way is open the terminal and directly type in code. Hit enter and it will open the Visual Studio Code for you. In case this code command is not working for you, what you need to do is in the Visual Studio Code type in Command Shift P and hit Command Shift P and type shell command and click OK. So next time it will work for you with the code command as well. So we are going to push our sample project on GitHub repository using Visual Studio Code. So let's create a sample project on the desktop. Let's call it as sample GitHub project. Open the Visual Studio Code and open this folder. Let's create a sample HTML file here. Call it as sample1.html. Add some text here. Save the file and let's create a sample2 HTML as well. So I have my dummy project ready now in Visual Studio Code. The requirement is to push this code on GitHub repository. You can see like I'm already signed in here in my GitHub repository, so I'm going to sign out first to show you the demo. And like I'm now signed out from the GitHub repository. So let's click on the source control on the left hand side, initialize a repository, and provide your commit message here like first commit, and click on commit. Now I have committed my changes, and now the requirement is to push the code on this GitHub repository. So I have already created an account on my GitHub repository. Here you can see here is my account. So I'm going to create a new repository here, like let's call it as my sample project, and then description, let's provide some sample description here and create a repository, and copy the repository URL. Go to Visual Studio Code and click on view command palette and click on add remote, provide the remote repository URL, click enter, and now you need to provide the remote name. Let's say my sample project. Now I'll click on publish branch. Now click on the three dots under more actions and click on push, and the changes will be pushed to main branch. The extension GitHub wants to sign in using GitHub, so allow Visual Studio Code to access GitHub and click on continue. Authorize Visual Studio Code. Now go to your GitHub repository and refresh the page. You will find both the files committed on your remote repository using Visual Studio Code. Now let's say some other developers are also working on the same source code and they have added sample3.html file in the remote repository. So here you can see the content of sample3 HTML file, but the same content and same HTML file is still not there in your local Visual Studio Code project. So in order to work with those changes, in order to pull those changes, go to again source control on the left hand side and click on three dots, click on pull. So as soon as you click on pull button, it will pull sample3.html file in your local project, Visual Studio Code project. So, and let's say we have now additional file to push on sample4.html. I'm creating a new file here. Now in order to push the changes, you can see the file is untracked here. Next to the file name you can see it's untracked file. In order to push those changes, again we need to follow the same procedure that we followed in the previous lecture. So just add the commit message here, like committing sample4, click on commit, click on yes, and sync changes, click on OK in order to push the changes to the main branch. And changes have been like pushed onto your sample project on GitHub repository. So you can see the sample4 file has been committed now. Now let's say you have a requirement to clone this repository and create a project in Visual Studio Code. So right now I don't have any project in my Visual Studio Code. So as per the requirement, I need to clone this repository in my Visual Studio Code. So just go to GitHub and copy this URL, and then go to source control, click on clone repository, provide the repository URL, select the URL, and you need to select a repository destination as well. So go to select the folder, and I'm going to create a new folder here like sample GitHub project. Click on create and select as repository destination, and then open the project, and you will find the repository cloned in the Visual Studio Code. Once you clone the project in your local Git, in your local VS Code, then let's say you have a requirement to create another branch from the main branch. So in order to do that, go to source controls once again and click on three dots, click on branch, create branch from, and select the branch name main. Let's say you want to give the name this develop branch. Click on enter and then publish branch. So once the changes are published, you can go to the remote repository and you will find another branch once you refresh the page here. So you will find another branch named develop here created and the remote repository. Now once the branch is created, so are we currently working on develop branch or main branch? So in order to check that, go to source control once again and go to checkout to. So in order to check out to develop branch, we can click on develop, and in order to work on main branch, we can click on main. The same can be verified using the terminal as well. So if I'll open the new terminal, so if I'll type git branch, so right now I am on develop branch and I have two branches in my project, develop and main. So if I want to switch from develop to main, then I can again go to git checkout to and select the branch main. So if I type the same command again in the terminal, now I am in main branch. So in this way you can check out from one branch to another branch in the GitHub project. How to clone someone else's GitHub repository, make the changes and push the changes to your own GitHub account. So in my case, I have my second GitHub account open with sample Spring Boot Elasticsearch project. You can clone the repository from some other GitHub author as well. So just go to remote repository that you want to clone, copy the URL, open the Visual Studio Code, go to source control, clone repository, and add the remote repository URL that you want to clone. Select the destination in your local. Open the project in Visual Studio Code, and now go back to the local folder on your device and then delete all .git folders from there. Now let's try making some changes to some of the files. Like in my case, I'm going to make the changes to employee.java and add an additional comment. This is model class. Save the changes and then go to source control again, initialize the repository, you will find the number of all the files are now untracked. Provide the commit message and go to view, command palette, add remote, and provide a remote repository URL for your own repository. But in our case, we have to create a remote repository. Let's create an Elasticsearch repository. Copy the remote repository URL. Go to Visual Studio Code again. Go to view, command palette, add remote, provide the remote repository URL and the name. Click on publish branch. Now you will you go to your own remote repository and refresh the URL. You will find the changes have been pushed to your own GitHub account. I'm going to show you how to delete a repository. So first of all, open the Visual Studio Code and open the folder that you want to delete. Go to File, Open Folder, select the folder, open, and then go to View, Command Palette, and click on Close Repository. So once you click on Close Repository, you will see the repository is not there, no more there in the Visual Studio Code. So and then go to your remote repository on GitHub and go to repository settings, and at the bottom you will see a danger zone and you will find an option delete the repository there. Then click on delete this repository. Type the repository name and delete the repository. You will find the repository is no more there in Git, GitHub and in your local. How to fork the repository, contribute to the project and make the changes and create a pull request. So first of all, let's say we want to fork the repository from some other GitHub account. So I'm right now in some other GitHub, my second GitHub account. Click on fork, provide the repository name, description and create fork, and you will be redirected to your own GitHub account. So you can see that the project is forked from some other GitHub account to your own GitHub account. Now let's clone the project in your local repository. Copy the repository URL, open the Visual Studio Code, and go to source control, clone repository and provide the remote repository URL. Provide the destination folder. Open the project in Visual Studio Code. Now let's contribute to this project and try to make some changes. So in my case, I am going to add sample readme.md file. So go to source control and provide the commit message. And sync the changes. Click on OK. You will find that the readme file will be pushed to your own GitHub account. Here is the file. And now let's create a pull request. So in order to create a pull request, go to contribute here, open pull request, provide a title, and a short description, and create a pull request. Now I'm currently logged into my second GitHub account, and you can see here, like, under the project Spring Boot Elasticsearch project, I have one pull request. And if I'll click on merge pull request and confirm merge, now if I'll go to my project, I'll see the readme file will be added to my project. Now I'm going to log out from this second account. Now I'm going to sign into my first account. And go to the repository, the forked repository. And you will find the notification here. You have one unread notification that the second author has successfully added the readme.md file to his project. So right now you can see I just have a main branch in my project. So I'm going to create a new branch called develop branch, make some changes to the develop branch, and then push the main develop branch to the main branch. So let's open the project in the Visual Studio Code and go to source control. Go to three dots on the left hand side and go to branch and create branch. Provide the branch name. In my case, I'm going to provide a develop branch, and publish branch. So you will notice, if you refresh the page, you will find a new branch added to your project, and which is exactly same as the develop branch. Sorry, which is exactly same as your main branch. So right now I am on develop branch. You can see at the bottom, currently I am on develop branch. So let's make some changes to the code in the develop branch. Go to source main. This source is application.properties. So I have added a comment here, and this is file has been modified. So let's commit this change. And sync changes. Click on OK. Now, if you will notice that you will find the changes in your develop branch. Develop branch has recent one push and pushes 1 second ago. So if I'll go to in main branch, the changes are still not there in my main branch. So you can see here, like in source application main resources and application.properties, the comment is still not there, which we just added few minutes back. So in order to merge the main branch with the develop branch, so go to source control again and go to three dots, go to checkout, and then go to main branch, which is our source branch in our case, and then we are going to merge the changes from develop branch to main branch. So we have already checked out to main branch, and then go to three dots again, branch, merge, select develop branch, and sync changes. Click OK. So you will find both the branches are now in sync on GitHub project. So if I'll go to main branch now, right now I'm in main branch, go to resources, application.properties. So the comment has been added here. So both the branches are now in sync. So I'm going to talk about merge conflict in GitHub. So right now I have two branches in my GitHub project, the main branch and the release branch, and both the branches are in sync with each other. So you can see the application.properties file is exactly same in main branch and the release branch. So I have already cloned the project in my GitHub, in Visual Studio Code as well. So in order to create some merge conflicts, let's edit. So right now you can see I'm in release branch currently, and I'm going to edit this application.properties file, and I'm going to make the data source URL sms1. Then go to commit and commit the changes to release branch in remote repository, and the sync changes in order to push those changes to a release branch. Now the changes have been pushed to release branch. Now go check out to main branch. Check out to main branch and update the data source URL in main branch as well. Provide the commit message and sync the changes. Now both the application.properties in main branch as well as in release branch are not in sync with each other. In one of the file we have sms1 and in the file we have sms2. So let's check out to main branch. So I'm already in main branch right now, and I'm going to merge these two branches. So I'm going to branch and then click merge and select release. So you can see we have a merge conflict here. So in the first section you can see the changes in green are current changes, whereas in blue are incoming changes. So let's say the changes that are in release branch are correct changes, whereas in master branch those are not correct changes. So I'm going to accept incoming changes and resolve in merge editor, complete merge, and then merge branch release to master branch. Click on commit and sync changes. Click on OK. Now both the branches are in sync with each other again. Let's refresh. So here you can see sms1 in main branch, whereas in release branch, if I'll go to release branch, it's also sms1. So in this way we can resolve the merged conflicts in GitHub. So initially we started with the introduction to Git and GitHub, and then we have seen working tree, staging area, and local repository. Then we started with push project from Visual Studio Code to GitHub, pull code from remote to local, clone repository, create new branch using Visual Studio Code, switching between branches, clone some others accounts repo, delete repository, fork, contribute and pull, git merge, resolving merge and conflicts.